Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that I'm going to show you tonight is something that came out a couple of hours ago. Justice Sotamayor, so one of the liberal judges, just shut down any type of appeal or stay on good moral character for you to have your gun rights. Now, this is something we need to walk through because it's tied into another case. I'm going to show you a few amazing things from the actual application, and everything is going to be linked into the description box below if you want to dive into it a little bit deeper. And of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. If you want to pass the blessing of the Second Amendment along to the next generation as hard as we do, make sure you hit that button. Thank you for that consideration, and the content today is brought to you by American Hartford Gold. This is part of the plan to insulate us from YouTube cancellation or any type of nefarious activity. So we'll say a quick word from them, and then we're going to get it. Content today is brought to you by American Hartford Gold. And brothers and sisters, with everything popping off around the world, wars cracking off, we've got inflation issues, we've got stock market volatility, we have cash concerns, we have oil concerns. It's a good time to take a look and at least know your options with American Hartford Gold. They are dedicated to offering gold, silver, platinum, coins, and bars for your investing needs. Whether you want to do it delivered to your door or you want an IRA, Roth IRA, 401k, TSP, they've got options. This is something you guys should check out. At American Hartford Gold, they aim to educate clients about investments in the precious metal industry, strive to provide unparalleled customer service built on trust, integrity, and absolute transparency, while holding a goal of achieving 100% customer satisfaction. Click the link in the description or call 844-727-3199. That's 844-727-3199 or text Langley to 65532. Again, that's 844-727-3199 or text Langley to 65532. All right, beautiful people, listen. We got to dive into this because this broke about 2 to 3 hours ago. I want to walk you through this because there's a few different pieces that are a little bit deeper than on the surface. Listen to this because it speaks to our argument exceedingly well. Check this out. Sotomayor denies bid to halt morality requirement for gun owners. If you're not familiar, they actually have in New York a good morality observation or determination before you can have your gun rights. Does that sound like something that's a good idea for the government to have? Well, we're going to put a pin in that for a second when I'm reading you the actual application. But listen to what just happened, because this is stuff you need to know as we go further in these cases. Supreme Court Justice rules on stay bid out of New York. Separate challenge pending before the Supreme Court. So that's the Antonyuk case, okay? U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor declined to put on hold a New York City licensing rule requiring prospective gun owners to show good moral character to own a firearm. Now, if you live anywhere outside of a blue bastion state, you would say that sounds insane because it's your constitutional right to have a firearm, not the state's ability to say you're a good or bad person based on subjective criteria and then telling you if you do or do not get your gun rights. You would think in a normal world that'd be insane, but in blue bastions like New York, where they let criminals out, criminals all have guns, they are a sanctuary city, there are no rules applied. It makes perfect sense. To them, at least. Of course, not to us. But let's continue. That's kind of the backstory here. In rejecting a stay request on Thursday relating to a district court order that's being appealed, Sotomayor turned away yet another bid to prohibit government officials from enforcing their laws while being challenged in court. Now, the whole thing was, can you stop this from happening while it's being determined in court? That was the entire point. Sotomayor, again, leftist judge, goes, yeah, nah, we're just going to let that one stay in place, which is kind of the trend of what the other justices have done as well. You've seen Alito did it, Coney Barrett did it, a bunch of them did it, and that's all from memory. But understand, this is in keeping with the tradition that the Supreme Court has held since the Bruin decision, where they're letting rules that are unconstitutional stand and not applying injunctions while the entire thing is ruled in court. That's effectively what's happened. So now we can add Sotomayor to the good moral, goodness gracious, good moral requirement. Let's just say, yeah, requirement for gun owners. Okay, so let me show you this, and then I'm going to break down the actual application, which has some really good stuff in it. But again, it's all linked if you want to read the entire thing. Sotomayor, the justice who hears emergency requests out of the New York-based U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, denied the request without referring the matter to the full court. So flat out, she just said, no, we're not hearing that. Nope, not happening. Okay? The latest request was filed by a New York resident who says the rule violates the Second Amendment as outlined in the Supreme Court's 2022 decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, which, in my opinion, it absolutely does. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments field. I'm pretty sure I know where you'll stand on it, but, give you a voice. A separate challenge to the morality licensing requirement is pending before the justices. So, before I get into the actual application for the stay, imagine any other right that before you get it, you have to ask the state in which you reside if you are a good moral person according to that state. By the way, the exact same states that say there is no truth and everyone do your own thing, it's up to you, boo. So there's no standard of morality or ethics or truth, get to determine if you're a moral person based on a standard that doesn't exist. What? The idea that the state gets to tell you you can have your Second Amendment or you can't have your Second Amendment based on a subjective opinion of the state is an infraction, is an infringement on the Second Amendment. It is not difficult. The good moral requirement cause is a bunch of crap. I mean, that is extremely bad. Imagine back in the day when we were British, we were like, hey, can we please not get taxed out of our brains? Well, we'll determine if you're a good moral character to see if you can get exempted. Well, who determines that? The people collecting the tax. Freedom for 1776, please. I'm just saying, guys, this is just, it's so stupid. But anyway, imagine that with your First Amendment rights. That's all I'm saying. When you compare the Second Amendment to the First Amendment and you do the same things they do to the Second, it gets kind of stupid. But anyway, let me show you a few excerpts here I think you'll find interesting. So here's the case. I think I'm saying that it right, enunciating it right. Sroor, I believe is the last name, versus New York City. So listen to this. Emergency application to vacate the Second Circuit stay pending appeal. The people are not required to prove their worthiness before exercising the right. As this court noted in District of Columbia v. Heller, the possession of weapons for self-protection is a pre-existing right. That's exactly correct. The state does not get to prove if you are worthy or not worthy of your rights, particularly if you are not convicted of any type of crime whatsoever, because that's what we're dealing with here, someone who has not been convicted of anything. It's just, we'll let you know if we think you're worthy and a moral person from the state that has no standard of morality or ethics, because that would be mean. Anyway, one more thing for you, because these things are crucial, particularly when they put together the Heller decision right in there. It comes up again. Oh, let's see here. Let's just read the whole thing. Methodically, applying the text, history, and tradition analysis for Second Amendment challenges reiterated by this court in the Bruin decision, the district court properly found that the magnitude of discretion afforded to New York City licensing officials, empowering them to evaluate an applicant's good moral character, to decide who may and may not exercise the rights codified in the Second Amendment, is not constitutionally permissible under the Second and 14th Amendments. What are the other questions? So in wrapping this idea up and this video up, think about this on a broader scale, because one thing that we don't do excellently in the gun world is we don't extrapolate out to other rights and other things in other areas where people can relate to them. We typically stay right there in the Second Amendment fight zone. But imagine this on different rights. Imagine this if the government, again, the First Amendment is the easiest one to conceptualize. Imagine if the First Amendment, before you could have your freedom of speech, you had to be determined if you were a moral person by the state in which you were trying to exhibit free speech. How would that go over? It wouldn't. But because it's a gun and it's all of a sudden a boogeyman, well, now we can infringe all day long and imply all these different things around determining who is a moral and who is not a moral person when there is no moral epicenter to gauge from. It's just a recipe for disaster, and reaching this to other people is where it gets powerful. That's what I've got for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.